I'm with Fuad Giacaman from AEI Open Windows. Now, Fuad, what is AEI Open Windows?
The AEI is the abbreviation of the Arab Educational Institute. It is nowadays registered at the Ministry of Interior as well as the Ministry of Education at the Palestinian National Authority. And we are an organization which started in the 1986-87 school year. It began as a cultural center under the cultural center's laws, where we used historically to teach the courses such as secretarial, the able students courses at the high school, or remedial education, and at the same time many other courses that are needed by the society. And it was a private institution. And then later on, because of the political economic situation, boys and girls of the high schools couldn't afford to pay fees, especially during the first Intifada. We moved, especially during the days of the closures of the schools by Israeli occupation, into teaching inside the halls of schools or houses. And that's we called it. No more a secret. It's the popular teaching. So we were, when I say AEI, we were some teachers, educators, but mainly responsible. I, as a co-founder of the Arab Educational Institute, together with my colleague also, Elias Abu Akla, who have been running this private organization. And then because of these difficulties, later on, we started to think of how to develop into a community education center through looking for some friends, through them some grants, some funds, and we started to think of the youth as well as students, teachers, and women with these small, to empower them. The empowerment of women, empowerment of the young and children, and slowly we became more interested in looking for funding. And we began with education with all the broad meaning of the word education, which includes everything, like jack of all trades, anything that is of interest to the students, to the teachers, to the young, to the women, as well as to the parents. And we were able, luckily, during the 90s, after the coming of Oslo, which we pinned hopes that there will be peace and security. So we started to develop from a community education center looking for support into how to register as an NGO. And through our cooperation with one of the inter-church organizations in the Netherlands, we became more like a project-oriented, and we started to have projects on special fields of our education, because the mission of the AI is education in all the wide meaning of education. And we focused not only on those past courses for youngsters and students, but on women, youth, parents, and continued as students. And after the registration, we were able to gain, funding during the late 90s on specific subjects that are related to the present situation, which we felt that we needed, the nonviolence, peace building throughout our discussion meetings. And so we started what we have been calling the development of groups. And after the development of the groups and looking to the needs, we started to write proposals. And we continued like that. We registered at the Ministry of Education and Interior as an NGO, and we started to define and address as much as we can the needs, and that is how we began an NGO and a project-oriented organization. When there is funding, we can go and work on the different fields of our work, which I can talk now about it more in detail.
Well, you have a youth work. Tell us about the youth work.
The youth work and the youth program, the recent past years, we have had developed 4 main projects. The youth program, the media program, the interfaith education program, and the women's or the Sumud program. And the 5th one is the visiting groups, the foreign groups that come, delegations to the Palestinian territories as well as to Israel. So these are the programs. Now, the focus on, as you have been asking about the youth. The youth, first of all, we consider that our youth section, which constitutes sometimes between 65 to 70 or more of our population, they are the future of the society and the future bright, free, independent Palestine. So we studied through different visibility studies their needs. And during these historical periods of the AAI, we saw a lot of needs, and we cannot, because the limitations in personnel and in funding, and we are a civil society organization. So we focused on the main important needs, looking into our education mission. And we thought that the most important is peace building, non-violence, and the empowerment of those youngsters. And that is how we began developing and writing proposals for such types of work. And how did we, after we were able, sometimes with successes, sometimes with difficulties, to get funding, first of all, the thing that helps us to achieve this work with the youth is that there is a strength in the AEI where we have children and high schoolers and university as well as postgraduate groups that come on weekly basis voluntarily, but through the projects that we may succeed in getting funding for. And then on weekly basis, we come to them with our local trainers, or we invite guest speakers, and we start empowerment activities, education in the field of youth leadership, training them on communication skills, on such as communicating Palestine, then interfaith, how to build their unity as Palestinian Christians and Muslims, because our nation in the Palestinian occupied territories, we are Christians and Muslims, indigenous Christians. This is our country, this is our origin, this is our culture, and then our other countrymen and countrywomen, the Muslims. So we should keep that important to work on with the young children, high schoolers, university, as well as with the students at the schools. So the work begins in the discussion meetings on weekly basis, where we offer them, as I have just said, every topic they like to discuss. Field trips. This is one of the best methods and techniques, so as this knowledge they gain through the talks, through the lecturers, will develop into actions. going to visit their holy sites, Muslims and Christians, historical sites, because geography, the belonging to the land, the love of the land, the respect and the appreciation of the beauty of the land, the environment, protection of the environment, together. So through this togetherness, they start to think of so many things, developing their personalities, developing, the communication with the land and the love of the land. As part of their love also, which we focus on, to God, to one another in the togetherness, and then to the land. So come up with the values that belong to these historical and religious sites. For example, when you go to Hebron, what does it mean? It's the forefather of all the three monotheistic religions. Come on. What does Abraham mean to you? Father of faith. Faith. So the value of faith. Faith to God. Faith to the land. Faith in one another. So here, how can you understand faith? They go to Jordan River, they see the water, the cleansing, the salvation, etc. These values come and write a story, narrate a story, do ice-breaking games, do have drama, sketches that are related to the values. So these values, they will start to bring them from the abstract into the concrete. And that is how they start to live these values. It's not just love, but love with action, love through doing the things. These are some of the things that we help our youngsters, the same which happens with the women and the students in the classrooms. And then we have a lot of work with the youngsters, not just in methodology, in interreligious education. We have national education, where we go into the history, into our culture, into our heritage. We have also with the boys and girls, especially at schools and in the AEI youth groups. We have a music group that was seen on the 5th of June in front of the wall, just a few meters from here, commemorating the Naksa, 50 year of Israeli occupation, and the music group of our AEI sang and play on instruments, and hopefully in July, 6 of them with the trainer, with the leader, will be going to Germany also as a kind of showing this latest achievement of the youth. The aim of this preventive education is to prevent, to know the other in order to prevent extremism leading to violence and terrorism as we are witnessing now. And preparing through religion the knowing of the other and focusing on the communities through many different activities. I mentioned the field trips, the methods, celebrating joint feasts together as Christians and Muslims, Ramadan, Christmas, the resurrection, Easter feast, coming together. And that is how we help our youngsters, students mainly, and the teachers in knowing one another, to lessen, to reduce the stereotypes, the prejudgments against one another. And this is one of the greatest, ways to help in reducing this escalating phenomena of violent extremism.
Why do you do what you do?
Why do we do? Because we find it important for our national unity. Unity is a value which is faith value, in my opinion, as a Christian value. And it should be a value in Islam. Second, out of my and our humanity, which is my identity. We are all equal, but we are all different. Another reason, religiously speaking, biblically speaking, I'm a believer more than irreligious. Though in the past I have been more religious and some faith and understanding faith. Now I'm more a believer and maybe less religious. I find this. So out of this belief which says, do unto others as you would like others to do unto you. Love of God, love of your neighbor, the difficult, and the most difficult, love your enemy, and then love your country. Without these, I cannot translate my faith into actions. These, then preventive education. So as not to allow these extremists. I'm also a nationalist. I belong to this country where my Lord Jesus was born, where my whole martyrs, starting from Stephanus to others, have been martyred for the sake of my faith. But at the same time, there are people who shed their blood for the sake of being on this land as a holy land, as Palestine. Not for me alone, but for all others. The Muslims, as well as the Jews, when we do understand that we are human beings and we should come to be together. But to be together, we need to be knowing one another, respecting one another.
Okay, Fuad, thank you very much.
Most welcome.